Gavel, I'm Terry Kumi. Now, the relationship between Nigeria's legislature and President Tinubu has been a subject of interest, with some observers noting a growing synergy between the two arms of government. However, many Nigerians question if this is actual synergy or just executive control over the legislature. Does this synergy allow the legislature to properly oversight the executive? Anyways, let's speak with a former member of the House of Representatives who now serves as the Senior Special Assistant to President Bola Tinubu on Parliamentary Affairs, House of Representatives, Honorable Ibrahim Olarinwaju. Honorable, welcome to the Gavel.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you. Last time you were in Parliament and now you are on the other side.
Yes.
How does it feel for you? How are you able to...
It's almost the same thing. I relate with my colleagues. The job is seamless. It's what I knew, it's what I've been doing all along.
And it's easy because you're dealing with parliamentarians at the executive and national
very
assembly
well.
level.
You know, we understand our languages and the nuances, so it's not difficult.
Oh, great. Then let's get your assessment of the relationship between the president and the legislature, taking into consideration the public perception that this assembly serves the president as a rubber stamp.
It is rather unfortunate the way we allow some mindset to control the thinking and perspective of our view of government. Yes, I agree. Like the Yoruba adage, you say that if two siblings enter rooms and they talk frankly, they come out with frown face, not smiling. And if they see them smiling, then they've not said some sincere things. But let's take an example. For example, when Mr. President sent the list of ministers to the parliament, some were not cleared. Nigeria never give parliament that credit. You just believe, yes, the president. If the president didn't want, he wouldn't have sent the name in the first instance. The parliament got a security board report and they didn't clear some.
Just one person, I believe.
Even if and that person is bigger than 3, 4, 5%.
Yeah, the argument is that it was political, but that is indeed
if there was any political issue, the president wouldn't say he has the power to send or not to send in the first instance. He sent, he came to defend himself. There was a petition. And on that basis, the parliament didn't clear. That's enough. Even that was at the beginning of the parliament, that's enough to send certain signal to Nigeria that these guys meant business. There are several issues that has, you know, the EU here is that the president being a former parliamentarian, the vice president being a former parliamentarian, the chief of staff being a former parliamentarian, the wife of the president being a former parliamentarian, who is interfacing between the two, a former parliamentarian, makes the job easy. You nip the EU in the bud before it grows to any bigger. Take, for example, the tax bills. It generates uproars. But technically, we move from one stages to the other, talking to people, enlightening people, interacting with leaders, the emirs, the obas. And before you know it, the gray areas were dropped, and when everybody agreed, it was passed. So people always believe it is only when they fight that they can achieve anything. And you know, this president, for the first time, has instituted something I can describe as state of the state affairs. He will come to the parliament, particularly when the parliament is another year old, to come and explain to the parliament, this is how far we have gone, this is what we are doing. The parliament are able to interact with him directly. All the parliamentarians, not the section, not the leadership. Who has been doing this? Nobody. And he was able to do that because he knows, as a former parliamentarian, what could bring a dispute. So with all this, you won't see any problem loudly. There are issues, but they just find a way of resolving it without necessarily causing any noise.
Is the president seen as, how do I put it now, as a leader who asserts his authority in parliament? Or is he seen as someone who respects the legislative arm of government? This question comes on the heels of the president's position when he told members of parliament that they should minimize how much they invite or summon ministers and allow them do their job. Is it not parliament's role to oversight the executive in any way that they deem fit, as provided specifically in the Constitution, and the powers of the legislature?
Well, I would say without missing word that the parliament, the president respect the parliament, respect the legislators, and he has demonstrated it in several ways. On the issue of Mr. President advising the parliament not to continue to be inviting agencies, the problem is this. We have issues that overlaps. When, for example, we have a committee, a substantive committee on NEMA, for example, and there's another committee on erosion management or IDP. By implication, it dovetails against to NEMA. If NEMA is invited, if NEMA had, say, 100 million naira for overhead costs, and NEMA has been invited by the substantive committee on NEMA to come and see what is going on in Bayelsa, to come and see what is going on in Kayama, to come and see what is going on in Ekiti, they've exhausted their overhead costs on doing what they want to do. Now there is another committee on erosion management, which again dovetails to the work of NEMA. NEMA again is brought back. The same thing NEMA has done is most likely to be the thing they will do. So NEMA has no overhead cost again to do the work. So they continue to complain to Mr. President. Sir, we have exhausted our overhead costs. This work we did with our substantive committee is what is likely to be done here. Please help us tell them so that they will not be duplicating effort. That's all Mr. President is saying. He's not saying you can't invite them. In fact, at a point in time, he sent, I'm aware, he sent signal to all the agencies that any agency that is invited by the parliament and they refuse to attend is at their own peril. But when it's becoming something like it's becoming too much on the same thing, of course it is natural that the head should be able to caution the two and go and say, please, let's see how we can always put this together. We can do it once so that we will not be duplicating it. That's what Mr. President is saying.
I want you to put it into clear terms, in layman's terms, the benefits of working, of the synergy between the National Assembly and the President. What do Nigerians stand to benefit? Then look at it as what it is today and say whether or not Nigerians are benefiting from that. This is because some are questioning whether this relationship only benefits parliamentarians. And
as a matter of fact, many parliamentarians, very few of them, will prefer that they fight Mr. President every time. But the majority will say, look, even in your homes, when you fight, you still sit down to talk. So why don't you do what you ought to do? Why don't you do it now? It is far more beneficial for Nigerians. For example, bills are passed quickly. It is whatever the issues are resolved more quickly. The needs of Nigerians are met quickly. You know, when, for example, Parliament passes a resolution does not have a force of law. It's more of advisory. But when there is a resolution that touches on national issue, the leadership, because there is an harmonious relationship between the president, can always move to Mr. President.
You know, to put this into context, it will be better if you sort of outline how Nigerians benefit directly. And the reason I say this is we've seen bills pass that are not people-friendly, per se. Nigerians have questioned the loan request.
Maybe give me an idea of the
Yes, I'm going there. The loan request of the president, which they Nigerians say further stretching the country's debt profile, have been speedily passed in Parliament within hours. We've also seen the national anthem change within hours. So some of these things, how beneficial are they to Nigerians?
Let me speak.
So specifically, what else has this relationship given to Nigerians?
Okay, let me speak to the two examples you passed. Please, without pretending, without being myopic, or without being sentimental, take the last national anthem and the present national anthem, read the wordings, and see the one to actually speak to us as Nigerians. You don't have to, I'm coming. You see, it's about national interest.
You do realize that there was no public hearing to gain public opinion on this. That's the problem. No public opinion. The president and parliament made the decision to change the national anthem, and it generated negative public reactions.
You see, my brother, people, when you need people's opinion on certain things, you organize public hearing. And you know, some of these hearings does not necessarily need to bring everybody together. The House passed the bill within a week.
What bill?
The national anthem. They passed the first, the second day. I brought the bill. They passed the first and the second reading same day.
Yes.
And it goes to the committee of whole. Because the moment they pass second reading, it's either go to the substantive committee or committee of whole. It went to the committee of whole. In the committee of whole, there were a lot of other people invited. It's not like a bogus...
No, the committee of the whole was just parliamentarians.
Yes! Committee of whole was just parliamentarians, but before they went there, they have sought several opinions. Which is the essence of having committee of whole is for you to go back to your constituency. And in going back to your constituency, you don't necessarily have to go there physically. You know people you can talk to. What do you think about this? The nationalists, what is your opinion? Because this thing is going to committee of whole and we have to speak to it. So what's the second one you mentioned? The loan. See, Nigerians keep talking about this loan. The loan was not a loan to be taken in one day. Give it to this government. How much did we make as a loan? How much has been paid?
No, Honorable, that's not the concern.
No, I'm coming.
The reason I'm saying this is that you now mediate between the president and the National Assembly.
I'm trying to explain to you the loan you refer to. People look at the figure of the loan. The loan is to stretch for years, for about 10 years. It's not the thing that is taken now.
I'm talking about the speed with which it was approved.
Because we need to meet targets. Those who are going to give the loan need the approval of the parliament within a certain period. So what are we waiting for? What we wait for when we need this thing? We have to know. That's why we need harmonious relationship with the president and the parliament. When the president has got, this is the year I have attended, the giver of these loans want us to send the approval of the parliament within the next 1 month. Can you please help us get this thing done? That is why the president needs to communicate with the parliament.
We're almost out of time, but let me bring this up. There's a different way to execute constituency projects for members of parliament now. Could you explain why that is so? In the 9th Assembly, I'm sure you're aware that it wasn't the same as what it is now. Explain that.
I don't understand what you mean by that.
What was the procedure for executing constituency projects? We understand now, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, that there's a 1 billion naira blanket provision for members of parliament to execute constituency projects.
Let me clarify that.
All right.
Constituency projects are totally different from capital projects. The 1 billion naira is for capital projects.
For constituencies?
For constituencies. And it is, Mr. President feel that there are these areas Nigeria need more. Please, when you want to nominate the project you want them to do in your constituency, concentrate around this area. Because this is what we need now. Your constituency project, in most cases, 150.
Just a second. You're saying the president is deciding which capital projects should be executed at constituencies?
No, he's not deciding a specific project. He's saying, please look at the area of education. Look at the area of agric. Okay. These are some major things. He didn't say, this specifically you must do. We need to grow more food. Whatever you are going to do, please, why don't you do it more?
What was it before?
No constituency projects.
What was the system before?
This idea of capital project has not even been at all.
So what was it before?
You only have your constituency project. Constituency project is still totally different from capital project. There are two different things. The president just said, look, I want input of your people in fixing capital project. I was one of the people that stood up in the 9th Assembly and said, look, why will a minister sit in Abuja and be dictating the kind of thing I need in my village? Involve people. Let them contribute. So my members are expected to go back to the constituency. What do we need here that we can do within 1 billion in this year? Capital projects. So in conversing with their people, they will now bring back, and the president is now saying, look, I want us to do more in agric. I want us to do more in education. I want us to do more in roads. Please look at this area in discussing with your people and bring back the project we want within this area. That's what Mr. President is saying. Because he feels these areas are far more critical to the need of Nigeria. That's all. In your constituency project, usually a very small amount, 100, 150 per members. In most cases, in fact, I think Lagos is about 45 million, which may not be able to do more. That is why Mr. President come up with this idea of capital project. But in that capital project, it must be screened. It must be within these areas so that it will meet the exact need of Nigerians.
Okay, Honorable, I'd like to thank you very much for coming to speak with me on the Gavel. And,
Thank you.
We hope that we get more clarifications from you going forward, because we would need some explanations with regard to how the relationship between the National Assembly and the President works.
It's an honor. I will always be here if you invite me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honorable Ibrahim Olarenwaju, Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, House of Representatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Gavel. The House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee has summoned 11 electricity distribution companies to appear before it over an outstanding debt of 2.6 trillion naira owed to the Federation accounts. The resolution was reached during an investigative hearing following a review of the 2021 Auditor General's report, where the Managing Director of the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company, Mr. Johnson Akinao, disclosed that as of September 30, 2020, the 11 discos collectively owed 2.6 trillion naira. Now, the committee has also resolved to invite other market operators and participants to address concerns raised in the Auditor General's reports. Meanwhile, the Minister of State, Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Tanko Sununu, has raised an alarm over Nigeria's worsening humanitarian crisis, stating that more than 3 million people remain internally displaced as a result of flooding, insecurity, and other natural disasters. He stated this when he appeared before the House Committee on Flood Management and Response.
As we are all aware, flood has become a recurrent and devastating challenge across many parts of our country. Each year, lives are lost, properties destroyed, livelihood disrupted, and the socioeconomic fabrics of the entire communities severely affected. This is no longer a seasonal inconvenience, it is a national emergency that demands urgent, coordinated, multi-sectoral, multidisciplinary strategic action. The establishment of this ad hoc committee therefore reflects the commitment of the 10th House of Representatives, the People's House, to address this crisis heads-on. Our mandate is clear: to investigate the root causes, assess the preparedness and response mechanism of relevant agencies, ministries, and engage stakeholders at all levels, recommend sustainable and actionable measures to mitigate the impact of flooding across Nigeria. We understand the worth of this task, but we are equally driven by the urgency to make differences. We shall work diligently, collaboratively, and transparently. We will listen to the voice of the affected communities, interface with experts, and ensure that our final report provides a blueprint for lasting solutions.
Globally, funding is becoming short for humanitarian aid. In fact, the United Nations estimated that the funding gap today is $36 billion globally. And in Nigeria, we are also affected seriously. Just a few days ago, I had the cost address World Press Conference on the suspension of the activities of our World Food Program, which affected almost 1,300,000 Nigerians who are receiving emergency food transfer from the World Food Program. And also it led to shutting down of about 150 clinics run by World Food Program in the Northeast, leaving us with over 300,000 children at risk of malnutrition, with over 200,000 receiving treatment for malnutrition. And the prediction that over 24,800,000 Nigerians had suffered a form of hunger is another challenge. Now, if we look at the impact and the consequences of flooding in the country, it really calls for a concern. It has displaced most of our farmland, displaced a lot of Nigerians. As of today, the count of internally displaced persons is almost over 3 million Nigerians. And this is not just a figure, it's the size of a country in Africa. Therefore, we must all rise to address the global challenges.
On Constituency Focus this week, we speak with Senator Shuaibu Afolabi, who represents Ogun Central Senatorial District in the 10th Senate.
One of the first things I did was to do training for our youth. We have a large percentage of Nigerian population that is youth. And therefore, the first thing I did was to do training for 50 selected youth for almost 2 weeks across the 6 local government of Ogun Central Senatorial District. Not only did we train them, we also provided them with tools, particularly laptop. And what makes this project different is that we're not just giving them tools or giving them training, we're doing a follow-up. So they've been given the training, they've been given a laptop, and they've also come back in a few months to showcase what they have been able to do, because it is the continuous process. The second thing in that area as well is that I've been able to attract a few ICT centers. So there's an ICT community center that will be formally unveiling very soon in Abeokuta. We have also done 2 ICT centers in 2 secondary schools, one in the local government, the other one in the 4 local government, as part of creating opportunities and platforms for the children, particularly the secondary school students, to learn about ICT skill. That is a new learning, that's the new knowledge, particularly in an area that the global competitiveness of nations is no longer determined by the amount of minerals under the soil, but by the assets that your citizens carry in their head. Therefore, we are catching them young. We are doing this. But we also need to speak to the issue of sustainability, particularly the issue of climate. Recently, the whole world gathered in Dubai to talk about climate change. But we also recognize that, particularly for our women. So we are done training for about 300 women for them to be aware about the individual responsibility to maintaining a very conducive climate that we can pass on to the next generation. So these 300 women, they were trained on the impact of burning forests, the impact of using firewood instead of gas, and they were also provided with cooking gas materials in order to move them away from activities that could impact negatively on the climate, to things that are sustainable. These are some of the things we have done within the constituency. But on a global scale, on a national scale rather, 65-70% of our population is youth. But we have, even with the best efforts, we can't get employment for all of them in one fell swoop. What do we need to do? Someone has read pharmacy, has read computer science, has read medicine. He has graduated, he has served, there's no job. A few things happen to him. Number one, he doesn't have a productive engagement, so he's idle, he's available. For those of them who might not be strong enough, they're available to do things that are, if you like, against social norms. Number two, they're also losing their skills. You graduate, you don't have the skills. You don't have an opportunity to practice the skills. Number three, you also don't have a stipend. So their confidence in themselves, the dignity of the school, the education they've had, begins to be eroded. So this bill seeks to achieve 2 things. Number one, if somebody has studied mass communication as an example, and the Minister of Information does not have a permanent employment for him, or the channels of this or of TVC, we can afford to have him on internship. Maybe 3 days a week. And it's based on stipends. What this does is, number one, we will have a national database of people who are looking for employment or are underemployed. As the saying goes, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it.
And that's all the time we have on The Gavel. Thanks for your time. Catch this and more on YouTube. Simply search The Gavel or go to channelstv.com. Also send feedback to The Gavel at channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.